So I will tell you a bit about what the Living Lab we are currently building in Porto as an extension of the projects we developed in the recent years. But I will start by talking a bit what future internet is. It is a bit of what João da Silva was telling about before. So it's the Internet of Things with millions of devices, from very small devices in the environment to the minuscule devices in your body, embedded in your blood, in your brain, in your heart. It is also your appliances at home, the smart TVs, the fridges, it is your cars. So everything will at some point, or at least that's the vision, be connected to the internet and be connected to software modules that can use that data, turn it into information, and do something with it that will provide us services that will make our lives at least more science fiction-like and hopefully nicer or less cumbersome. So that's the Internet of Things. Future Internet is also the evolution of the personal communications as we have them today. So it's streaming media, but high-D streaming media, three-dimensional streaming media. It's about gaming and immersive environments and augmented reality. This will be enabled by converged networks. So fixed networks, fiber to the home, well, combined at least during some time with DSL and cable. Wireless networks with a cellular, converged already with Wi-Fi, and this we see already nowadays, but it will also converge with, it will have to take on device-to-device communication. With device-to-device, I mean smartphone-to-smartphone communication without the need for infrastructure. I mean car-to-car communication without the need for infrastructure. Sensor-to-sensor communication without the need for infrastructure if they are close enough to communicate directly. This is still not completely converged, but at some point this will have, well, this will be embedded in the future. Will also be a part of the future internet. And the third pillar of the future internet, I think, is big data, machine learning, and algorithms, pattern recognition algorithms, artificial intelligence algorithms. And this is what will be sitting inside those modules in the Internet of Things. And this is the intelligence that will turn all the data that we're putting in the cloud through the converged networks into something useful, hopefully, for all of us. And again, the enabling technology for this is cloud computing, in the sense that this will provide efficient sharing of resources, of computing resources, so that we can achieve the scale that we need to process all this data and doing all these services. So for a smart city, what does this mean? I mean, I'm going to talk only about 4 of all these sort of use applications or use cases. So mobile health, there is the monitoring aspect, so the physical health. Continuous monitoring of people in ambulatory, so after treatment or even before treatment, so that you can track diseases more efficiently with less impact on people's lives, and even find out some diseases are triggered by lifestyle. And this is very difficult to track if you go to the doctor, because you're actually not exposed to what causes your disease when you go to the doctor. So all of this will also make healthcare hopefully a bit more accessible to everybody. But there is another kind of health, which is the psychological health, which will, in cities, as they become bigger, probably be just as important as the physical health. And the future internet, with all the, we'll also talk about participatory sensing and all these things, will enable us to study better which environmental parameters impact the mental is a bad word, emotional health of people. By having a better knowledge of this, we can also design cities, plan them so that the quality of life of the citizens is better. So, intelligent mobility. To the intelligent mobility, I just would like to say about an application I would like to have. I would like to have my calendar, when I accept an invitation, already tell me that I have another appointment before, and to move from my previous appointment to the place of that appointment, according to the regular traffic conditions, it would take me a certain amount of time, so I should accept the appointment only if I have that time in the meantime. And I would be even more happy if, or happier, if the on the day of the event, my calendar would tell me, well, there has been an accident and everything is jammed. So it should better take the bus, and the bus that gets you there on time will leave in 10 minutes. You need 5 minutes to get to the bus stop, so maybe you should get going. I would like to have this. Actually, all the technology that you need to put this into place exists nowadays. It's just not put together. And in smart cities, intelligent mobility will be about putting together all these modules and all this data that is already there. Now to a bit different, the sharing economy. This is, I think, a consequence a bit of the economic situation, also a consequence of the desire to live more sustainably. So you don't want to use as many resources. So people share a lot more things today than they did 20 years ago. People share their homes when they go with tourists. You share your car actually with third parties, but nowadays there are companies in Germany and France who can share your own car with your neighbors, with your acquaintances, with people around you. You share your internet access with the systems like phone, and you share also clothes. I don't know if you're aware of that, but there are places that you can share designer clothes to go to parties, or shoes, or purses that cost thousands of dollars. You can share it. You can, so you can share lots of things. You probably share your surfboards, your snowboards, all these things that you don't use all the time. All of this can be enabled, let's say, as a broker by the future internet, by suggesting people with whom you can establish a relationship of trust, because you don't want to share with anybody. So the Internet of Things this is in a city where you have lots of neighbors. You can very easily move around and get your stuff from one place to the other. This is a very important set of use cases that will be enabled by the future internet. And finally, participatory citizenship is maybe the future internet will enable us to develop applications that involve people more in the life of their cities, eventually of their countries, and at least counteract a bit this disillusion that people seem to have with democracy and politics. This is also relevant for future cities, location-based services connected to data mining of political documents which are available on the internet. This is starting to come now. So these, I think, are relevant, very relevant applications for smart cities. But we're not there yet, and many, many challenges from the technical ones, and I think most of the challenges are not necessarily so technical. And so I'm going to address 4 of them. First of all, the connectivity. I think somebody addressed this before, probably João. Connectivity is ubiquitous, but I think everybody knows, well, it's not really ubiquitous. You have all had situations where either you don't have connectivity or it is too expensive to use it. And very often also the response time is not satisfactory. So you get a poor usability, people don't use. You need to, all these applications I talked to you about, you need to bring the users in. They need to use this. And this is very important also in Porto. What we are trying to do is all developing applications and doing research that involves the end users. And for this, you still need to do something on the infrastructure. Then you need to have interoperability. Because if you have devices that do not communicate with each other, people are not going to rely on them. They are not going to buy them and use them, at least not freely, and this is not going to take on. So it's necessary to make things interoperable. Data access. In data access, I mean, on one hand side, open data from the city councils, because if it's public data paid by our taxes, probably should be made available for everybody to use. But also just regulate data access. Just don't make it a big elephant in the room that nobody talks about. Or when you talk about it, it's very extreme with it's very bad or very good. Just we need to discuss this and we need to talk about data access. We also need to find business models for data access, because some data is in the hands of private companies and they might not want to give it out for free. So, but this has to be regulated, discussed, talked about. It's not there yet. And this calendar application is not possible nowadays to a great extent because this data is not available. We're also trying to address this a bit in Porto with the applications we're trying to develop. And then one issue I'd like to finish with is also often spoken about. It's interdisciplinary collaboration. All the applications I talked about in the previous slide, none of them is possible by one field of knowledge. We need to talk to other people. We need to talk to psychologists. I'm an engineer, so we engineers need to talk to psychologists. We need to talk to sociologists. It's a very different people from us. They have a very different vocabulary. They have a very different way of working. It's like going to a very different country and starting to build something together. I work with a psychologist now for 3 years, and 1 month ago, Mariana was leaving the room after a meeting and said, well, finally I have the feeling we're being efficient. It's been 3 years, and it's the same people, and we've been working together and we get along very well, but we just don't, we had to explain the meaning of everything. So every meeting was huge, and we had to repeat everything to each other, I mean, a lot of time. And so interdisciplinary collaboration takes time, uses up resources, but is necessary, and we need to invest in it. And so, because not everything is so bad, we're trying to at least address these challenges. Well, it's a competence center for smart cities, and we have a EU project, an FP7 project for capacities. It's called the Future Cities Project that just started last year, and the goal of this project is to extend the test beds that we built in previous research. In previous research projects funded by the FCT within international programs, so mostly the Carnegie Mellon Portugal and the MIT Portugal programs. We already collaborated with each other, and we built demos, small prototypes. And within this project, we're just making them big, so scaling them up. I'm going to, interesting. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about 2 of our test beds, which are already in a very advanced status. So one is the mobility and vehicular ad hoc networking test bed. It's, I think João told you about it. We have already buses equipped with vehicular ad hoc, vehicular communication, taxis, and harbor trucks. They are also equipped with sensors, so for the vehicles and for the environment, and they are remotely managed, so you can do networking experiences on them, but you can also use them as a sensor for the area they are driving around with. So this is being done in close cooperation with 2 startups, so this is about involving the local economy or trying to take the research also out onto the market. I think you heard about this, right? So the second test bed, we are already also in an advanced state, is the Sense My City test bed. And this is it's not an application, it's a platform. It's a sensing platform. It has an application, a mobile application for Android, which is very modular and has aggregates all the embedded sensors on the smartphone, as well as external sensors. And this can be, the sensors that you use in each application can be configured. So we have this platform, you can get there and say, okay, I want to use sensor number 3, 4, and the heart wave, and we generate an application for you to do that kind of studies. And then you can go out in the field and collect the data. We also have emotion questionnaires. This is the way that psychologists use to study emotions and emotional states and see how emotional states evolve along the day. So they have a protocol. We have worked before with firemen and with policemen, firemen and bus drivers, doing a protocol for their workday. So in the morning they had to start recording. They would do some questionnaires. We had their location, also accelerometer. Whenever they had an event that might be stressful, they were also recording their heart rate. When you had an event that might be stressful, they could record it. They could mention what it was the cause of stress, how they dealt with personally So how do they cope with stress? Some people go and smoke a cigarette. Some people don't do anything. Some people shout, whatever. So this is how, and they tracked, so the firemen, they had so they had this system for twice for 3 months in 2 different years for the whole summer. And for the policemen, they have 40-something policemen which were tracked, so voluntarily tracked, right? In their daily lives, actually important, they found out the reasons, the 10 most common reasons for stress among bus drivers. And some of them actually are related to the planning of the bus routes. And in that case, there is something you can actually do to change and improve their quality of work life. So right now we are working with policemen doing similar things. So we are working a lot with the end users, trying to bring them in, and working also with other fields of knowledge. So that's our main goal, able eventually to build such a map. Like that map is for speed of vehicles. We would like to build a map like that, for example, for emotions, for stress, for places where people don't feel so good. So this is it. What we want to do.